Hi, folks. Bob Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
It's Monday night, and the Sports Hounds are live from the Real Talk Studios, Mount Ephraim, New Jersey. A2D Radio with you till 10 o'clock, talking all things Phillies, Bryce Harper, Eagles making some moves, the Sixers, and Flyers pushing towards the playoffs. It's an exciting time to be a Philadelphia sports fan. As always, the Sports Hounds are sponsored on A2D Radio by Gibson Mayer LLC. Gibson Mayer LLC, certified accountants. Visit GibsonMayer.LLC.com. We'll get you all straightened out as it is tax season. But, Brad, the second shoe finally dropped. Bryce Harper, 13 years, $330 million, no opt-outs. He's here until he's 39 years old. And the Phillies kind of had to do this after that stupid money comment, correct?
Well, yeah. I mean, the owner promised that they would that he was going to spend stupid money. I mean, he may have spent stupid money on McCutchen, but I mean, that's not really stupid money in the whole realm of everything.
Now, it breaks down, his AAV is only $25 million a year.
Which is not terrible.
I mean, I say only because, I mean, that's a lot of money for an athlete to make. But in terms of what he can potentially give you over the next, let's forget about 13 years, because that's crazy. To think that he's going to be at an elite level in year 36, 37, 38, 39. Hopefully he'll still be good.
I'd say up to 34 you should still get prime quality.
The key of this contract is 26 to 30, 31.
Right.
You got to hit the ground running, and he's got to perform well, and the Phillies have to win. And no one will ever care about how much money, at least smart fans won't care about how much money he's making over the next 13 years. But that brings us to our Scanzano Sports poll question tonight. It's going to be a lot of Phillies here in the first hour, and we'll touch on the Sixers, Flyers, and Eagles making some moves in the second portion of the show on YouTube. But what are your expectations for the Phillies? I think Bryce Harper is going to be the National League MVP. I think Bryce Harper is going to hit 50-plus home runs. And I think the Phillies are the clear favorites in the National League, with Clayton Kershaw being unable to play catch in Dodgers spring training. So I expect – I wouldn't say expect. I am hopeful that the Phillies will represent the National League in the World Series. If I had to bet right now, I would pick the Phillies as my favorite. Whether they're going to win the World Series or not, I don't know. Houston's pretty good. Your Yankees are very good, and the Red Sox are the defending champions. So that's where I'm at with the Phillies. We have Frank. What were the choices I made for the sports poll, the Scanzano sports poll question?
The answers would be miss the playoffs, make the playoffs, World Series appearance, and World Series champs.
Which I think they're going to appear in the World Series.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think they're going to be a playoff team. I can't give you that World Series yet.
Why are they not the favorites in the National League?
Well, because Kershaw's not going to be out for the season.
He might be.
Well, I don't think he's going to be out for the season.
Okay, you never know.
If and when he comes back.
You never know with that guy.
When they that's true. But when they do come back, okay, you're looking at Kershaw and Walker Buehler as your top two pitchers.
Walker Buehler is a stud, no doubt about it. But Aaron Nola's better.
Okay, I mean it's going to be close. It's arguable, but don't forget, if it's 1 and 2, you'd have as as it stands right now, and I don't know about mid-season acquisitions.
Okay, so it sounds like you're on the Dodgers as the favorite to
right now, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, but again, I don't know what the Phillies are. I still think the Phillies are going to go out and get another pitcher.
Okay, the Dodgers lose Manny Machado.
Right.
Clayton Kershaw is banged up, and all due respect to A.J. Pollock at $55 million over the next 3 or 4 years, whatever he signed for, he's injured all the time. He's not going to give them offensively.
But they are getting Seager back.
They are getting Seager back, and I think
Seager's
Bellinger's a heck of a player.
I don't think Bellinger had a great year last year either.
Verdugo, yeah, a little bit of a sophomore slump, but he's good. I mean,
Muncy is very good.
He's going to do that again?
Maybe he does more. I mean, who knows? I mean,
they don't have Grandal.
I don't think Grandal was a very good catcher, quite honestly.
He could hit.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of a liability back there. Who is their catcher? Martin now? I think Russell Martin's their catcher now.
He went back there?
Yes, he did. Russell Martin is a very good.
He's a pest. He's all right.
He's a very good defensive catcher. He's not much with the bat anymore.
I don't understand. Okay, so the Dodgers are a good team. I think the Phillies are better. You look at how you win.
What about
in baseball?
What about their bullpens?
Who?
The Dodgers.
I love the Phillies bullpen.
Yeah, but they don't have a closer as good as Kenley Jansen.
Well, you know, they're going to do it by committee, and you look at the Phillies, they have Neshek, they have Robertson, and they have Sir Anthony Dominguez, and they have guys that can get it done at the back end there.
We'll see. I mean, I'll tell you what, Jansen certainly didn't distinguish himself in the World Series.
Not at all.
I mean, look, am I saying the Dodgers are the greatest team to ever play? No. They're not. They have warts. I mean,
you look at I'm not buying the Cardinals at all in the Central.
I think you can't throw them out. I'm
not buying the Cubs in the Central.
The Cubs are a pretty good team.
I mean, are the Brewers really going to get back to the NLCS next year with zero starting pitching? Zero starting pitching. They're going to be able to do that 2 years in a row?
They found a way
I get
to
it.
do it last
You
year.
They found a way there last year. Absolutely they can hit. But is
that
Christian Yelich's MVP performance repeatable from year to year like that? Is he really that good?
The question is,
I expect a little bit of a drop-off. Not to say he's a bad player, but I mean, he's not going to win the National League MVP again.
The question is,
shot.
Are they good enough to repeat in the National League's toughest division? Because I mean,
which is what?
Which is the NL Central. Make no mistake, right now between the Cubs.
I love the Reds. I love the Reds in the Central.
And the Brewers.
I love the Reds. I love their lineup. I love their bullpen, and I think they have just enough starting pitching to win that division.
That's a very strong division right now.
And, you know, the Cardinals, they have Goldschmidt, but, I mean, is Ozuna going to bounce back? I mean, Dexter Fowler, DeJong, Colton Wong.
If you put Goldschmidt in the middle of that lineup, Goldschmidt is as good as as anybody in the game right now. You put him in the middle of the lineup, that is major impact. You know, I mean, you can't get around that. I mean, he's going to make Ozuna better. You know, Ozuna will get more pitches to hit. I mean, I think the Cardinals are definitely going to be a formidable bunch this year. I mean, that's a huge pickup for them. Really is. And then you look look at the Brewers, and you look at the whole thing is, though, because you've got so many good teams in that division.
See, because now I feel like you're just looking at Bryce, and you're not giving credit to the other moves that the Phillies made. McCutchen with Hoskins.
McCutchen's not good anymore. I mean, I saw him as a Yankee. He's not good anymore. He's okay. I mean, but as a WAR player, he's barely above average at this point. If that, I mean, he's like an average.
He's going to be way better in left field than Hoskins was last year.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with you, but Hoskins is going to be.
The amount of times that the Phillies gave teams 4 or 5, sometimes even 6 outs in an inning last year was stupid ridiculous. You're never going to win, sustain winning with that bad a defense. And Segura is an excellent defender. McCutchen is a good defender. And Hoskins is going to be better defense at first base than he was in left field last year. I can guarantee that.
Well, it's not like Santana was a Gold Glove last year at first base.
No, Santana is good riddance, get out of town.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I'm not saying that the rest of their players are. They've made some nice pickups.
But
I mean, Real Muto is going to definitely put a halt to the running game. He's going to give you some offense behind the plate. I mean, listen. The Phillies are good, and they have a real good lineup.
So, like, I'm not buying the Dodgers as better than the Phillies. I'm just not. I'm not buying the Brewers are better than the Phillies. The Cardinals, the Cubs, the Reds, they are not better than the Phillies. Nationals have a good team, but they are not better than the Phillies. The Phillies are the favorites in the National League.
But they all have better pitching than the Phillies, and that's something that
and
you
the
have
Phillies
to, you have to
you
wonder
bet your
about.
bottom dollar that the Phillies are going to be adding starting pitching at the trade deadline.
Okay, well, that, as I said, if they add another pitcher at the trade deadline, then we have to reassess our thoughts. But as of going into the season right now, and that's really all we can do.
But the 08 Phillies won the World Series with a tremendous lineup and an outstanding bullpen, and they had Cole Hamels.
Who else?
The rest of those pitchers weren't anything. Brett Myers.
Nah,
They got Joe Blanton mid-season from the A's. They had Jamie Moyer.
Jamie Moyer was good back then.
He was good. He was
real good
needs
back
a
then.
household Cy Young contender.
No, but he was
at
very
all.
good back then. He was still good. I mean, I remember when he was with the Mariners how good he was. He was a really good pitcher, Moyer, back then. Also, remember back then they had a great lineup. I don't know if they have a lineup like they did back then.
It's pretty close.
Nah, I'm not going to give you that. They didn't have the lineup that they had back then. I mean, they were.
I mean, okay. I mean, I see Segura. I see Real Muto. I see Hoskins and
but
Harper.
you had Rollins, Utley, Howard,
with Herrera,
Worth,
and Franco
Victorino.
with no pressure on him now, hitting seventh. Wouldn't surprise me to see him hit 20 to 25 home runs this year.
He certainly has the ability to do that. Who's going to be playing second now?
Cesar Hernandez. I still don't trust Scott Kingery.
Yeah, but he's injured.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah, so Kingery's going to probably start the season there.
I mean, there's a
I don't know how
month
long.
to start.
Yeah, I don't know how
start.
long he's
The
going to.
28th, 3 o'clock against the Braves.
Oh, they open up with the Braves, huh?
They do.
Nice.
At home. And they are the first Sunday night baseball game. The Phillies and the Braves.
Very good. Very
Which
good. That's
I don't.
gonna be-
I can't remember the Phillies being on Sunday night baseball for years.
Well, start getting used to it because the Phillies,
You're damn right.
the Braves, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Astros are pretty much going to be, and the Dodgers are pretty much going to be your Sunday night games.
As they should be.
Oh, absolutely, because they are, right now, without question, these are your best teams in both leagues. And I mean, right now, I would make the Phillies a co-favorite. I wouldn't make them odds on. Not yet. I got to see it first.
They are
To see how
odds-on
it-
favorite to win the East. Would
The
you at
East,
least
yes.
agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's
As
go to the
far as-
message board on Facebook. David Rosca, Dallas Keuchel to the Padres. I haven't seen that to be true, so I would assume that Rosca is just speculating about one of his California teams.
Yep,
Um,
Rosca being Rosca.
Greg Malakovic.
I could see. You know where I could see Keuchel going, and
Where
I haven't
to?
heard this anywhere, but I could see him going as the Angels.
That would make Rosca extremely happy.
I could see the Angels getting. He seems like he's the kind of pitcher that the Angels would go out and get because they always seem to get guys that are broken down or past their prime. The Angels, for whatever reason, they just have not been able. They've had no
They
luck
suck.
with pitching. Yeah, they
suck.
They have the best player in baseball, and they still can't seem to get it together.
Greg Milakovic, let's go, boys. Brycey Poo is in town. Definitely NL East contenders, obviously, and serious World Series contenders for sure. I don't see a team in the National League that's better than the Phillies. I just don't. I think they're going to score a bunch of runs.
I think there are some games.
How many home runs did the Yankees hit last year as a team?
268.
260. I don't think they're going to hit that many, but I think they're going to be over 200.
They might. Yeah, they might.
Definitely.
Yeah, they might.
Bryce is going for 50. Hoskins 35.
50's a lot.
Segura, Real Muto,
50 is a lot.
25 each.
I think if you go about 40 with Bryce, I think that might be a little bit
Yeah,
more.
he's hitting 51 home runs, and he's going to hit 320. This guy is. I
don't know about, I don't know about 320. The problem.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The problem with him hitting 320.
100 runs, 51 homers, 100 RBIs, and 320 average. I'm pretty confident we can etch those numbers into stone right now. The only problem.
He's
going to pay he's going to pay the $330 million contract this year. Everyone's going to love this guy.
The only problem is that he's left-handed, and that stupid shift is going to hurt him.
That's fine.
Because that shift, I think, has killed him the last 3 years with his average. I know not last year, but the year before he had a pretty good average. But I do think that the shift has a lot to do with his batting average going down. I'm not trying to make excuses for him. That's my opinion. Be that as it may, whether people agree with me or not.
David Rosca, Angels won't get him. Angels got work on their farm system. Ty Edwin, Astros are better than the Phillies. Yeah, maybe, but the Phillies don't have to beat the Astros to get to the World Series. They have to beat the Astros to be World Series champions, which there's no guarantee that the Astros or the Phillies are going to be there, even though I do consider.
You can't worry about American League teams if you're the Phillies. that's just silly. You can't be worrying about the American League. You worry about the National League. The National League is the league you play in. That's the league that you have to win. You don't have
Ty
to
Edwin,
beat the American
got to go
League
through
right
the
now.
Yankees, Red Sox, and Astros first. They're all in the American League. You don't have to go through any of them to get to the World Series. And maybe the Cardinals also. I think the Cardinals are overrated. I really do. I don't think the Cardinals are as good as the Phillies. Maybe I'll be wrong, but
Well, if you take a look at their two best hitters and take a look at your two best hitters, it's pretty even.
Which would be what?
What, Hoskins and
Harper.
So you take Hoskins and Harper against Goldschmidt and Ozuna.
I'm taking the Phillies
even.
guys all day.
I think Goldschmidt's a better hitter than Harper. I think Hoskins is a little bit better hitter than Ozuna. It's pretty close. I think it's pretty even. Honestly, I do think that whoever wins that battle, could end up being the difference.
We have
especially when they play each other.
Remuto and Segura and McCutchen and Herrera and Cesar. That's just a better supporting cast around the two best hitters than the Cardinals have. And Miles Mikolas, he's gonna be that
good.
again. He's gonna do that again.
We'll see. They had some injuries to their pitching staff too last year.
Scott Krolick, the Phillies aren't winning anything.
I think that's.
Phillies are going as far as the show can go. Well, you know what, Scott? Then don't listen. I don't know what to tell you.
I think
he doesn't believe anything he says. Scott Krolick, Scotty Stories, as some people call him.
You know this guy?
Yeah.
Ah.
Unfortunately, but yeah, there's no merit to any of his statements. He just does it to stir the pot, and people get all mad at him. Just ignore him. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
And I see
Gotcha.
Bryce Blackwell, Trout coming in 2 years.
Yeah, let's pump the brakes on that because I'm not as optimistic that Mike Trout's ever going to hit the market. And why don't we just enjoy Bryce Harper for a week? How about before we start talking about 2 years from now?
Yeah,
maybe let's get to the All-Star break before we start talking about Mike Trout.
Let's make one point very, very clear.
I don't think Mike Trout's ever going to hit the open market.
The Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees and the Los Angeles Dodgers in 2 years are going to have serious salary reductions on their payroll.
The Yankees as well.
That's what I just said. The Yankees, the Boston Red Sox, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. If the Phillies want to try to get Mike Trout, they're not going to be bidding against themselves this time like they were with Harper. They're going to actually
be way more suitors.
They're going to have teams that have financial flexibility. Now, I do admit one thing: the Yankees are going to have to pay Judge, absolutely. But keep in mind, in 2 years, Jacoby Ellsbury's off the books, and that's $24 million right there. Tanaka's off the books; that's another $25 million. I could keep going.
Yeah, there's not going to be.
Who's the relief pitcher they signed? Britton. They're all off the books in after 2 seasons. So, I mean, there is plenty of financial flexibility for the Yankees to go out and get him, as well as Boston, because most of Boston's team, the window basically is closed on this group after next season, because after next season, JD is a free agent, Mookie Betts is a free agent.
Mookie Betts.
Dustin
Mookie Betts.
not Dustin Pedroia. Who's their shortstop? Bogarts. He's going to be a free agent. I mean, Chris Sale's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. So, I mean, in the next couple of years, the Red Sox are going to have financial flexibility as well.
Yeah,
so
and you said
it's
it
not like the
perfectly.
Phillies are not going to be bidding against themselves. They're going to maybe they will get him, but you know what? I'd say the odds are going to be maybe 20%.
The odds of Mike Trout hitting the open market are very slim. I think it's much more likely that
The Angels are already offered.
the first likely scenario
10
is that
years, $350.
the Angels are going to extend Trout because you don't trade or let Mike Trout walk ever. I don't care what your farm system is, your payroll situation is, whether you can win or not. You have a way better chance of winning with Mike Trout than you do trading him or letting him walk. Second most likely scenario is he gets traded either next offseason or during the season next year, and that team re-signs him. I think it's an uphill battle unless the Phillies trade for him somehow, which I don't see that as feasible.
I don't see that as feasible
because you just traded your best prospect for Real Muto, which I'm totally fine with.
And at that point, yeah, the Angels do have a depleted farm system, but is it worth depleting our own farm system to get Mike Trout?
I would
that's
say
the question.
I say
well,
yes.
I think yes, but I don't think you have the farm system right now to get Mike Trout.
Right.
That's the problem.
I
think
we have the
there's-
prospects that could do it, but just not at the point
Who?
right now.
What prospects?
No, you don't. Not
I mean-
anymore. The prospects, the team that has the prospects are the Braves and the White Sox. Those are the two teams that have the prospects.
Padres.
The Padres
yeah,
and
that is true.
and the Braves. Don't forget them. And the White Sox. Who else?
So
Who else did I left one team out that I can't think of right now. We said the Padres, right?
the Padres, the Astros farm system's not bad. Certainly better than the Phillies farm system. So I mean, let's just chill on Trout. Let's celebrate what we have until at least, the All-Star break, and then we can start talking about
Yeah. First of all,
realistic trade targets for this
First
team
of
that
all,
can help put them over the
yeah.
top.
Right.
At the All-Star break, you're going to be trading some people because you're going to need another starting pitcher.
Yes, as most teams do.
Right.
at
So
the deadline.
you're going to be trading more prospects to do that. That's why I just I don't.
Yeah,
see
I
that
love
happening.
people who just say, "Oh, just get Trout." Like it's Xbox, and you can just keep making more money until he signs. Like it doesn't work it's gonna be way harder than just say, "Get Trout." He's an Eagles fan. Like it's not going to be that easy. So just enjoy Harper and your potential World Series appearance this season, because the Phillies are the favorites in the National League, in my opinion. And then, if Trout happens, great. If not, then whatever.
Still have a good team.
And isn't it funny how the social media narrative changed around 2:50 on Thursday afternoon? He stinks. I don't want him. He's not worth all that money. He's no Trout. And now he's the biggest hero ever because he picked us and signed with us, which you can't believe any of these insiders. Like, you're never going to sign with the Giants. Like, give me a break. And the Dodgers didn't want to give him the years that
No, and the
he
Giants
wanted.
didn't have the money to sign him.
Why would you want to be – I don't understand why the
Well,
Giants
you know what-
even finagled their way into the mix.
Well, you know what? It's funny because the Giants tried to get Stanton too, and he didn't want to go there either.
They're horrible.
Yeah, no, nobody wants to go there.
They have
right
Buster
now.
Posey and Madison Bumgarner, and that's it. And Buster Posey's not even
And Buster and
a primetime player anymore.
Madison Bumgarner is going to get traded at the trade deadline this year,
You would think, hopefully, to the Phillies.
or the Yankees, or a host of other teams. Hopefully not.
Now, Rosca brought
Hopefully
up
not Boston.
now because there are two free agents still out there. They're both pitchers that can. One I think can definitely help the Phillies. One I'm not too hot on, but if they signed him, I'm convinced at this point that it would be a good idea because they have Harper. That's Dallas Keuchel, lefty starter, and Craig Kimbrell. I would have already had Craig Kimbrell signed if I were the Phillies after Harper. because you get into
No,
that.
I've been saying that to you for a while. That Kimbrel would be. You'd be much better off getting Kimbrel because David Robertson is not really a closer. He's an eighth inning guy. I mean, he's not really a great closer. He's great in the eighth inning. You could bring him in for the seventh and the eighth. I really don't think you want to have him pitching the ninth. He's the kind of guy that, I mean, he pitches into and out of trouble a lot. And in the ninth inning, he just doesn't seem to get out of the trouble like he does in the eighth and the seventh. So if you could get Kimbrel, I think it would be a very good idea. And then you put Robertson where he's most comfortable, and then you have Dominguez too. So you have two fireballers coming in the eighth inning and the seventh inning, and
and you have Neres and Nishak and Tommy Hunter and improved guys that you got in both the Segura trade and in a trade where Luis Garcia got sent to the Angels. Who Luis Garcia was horrible. He's been on the team since 2015.
Do you have any lefties in your bullpen right now?
They have the one. He came from Seattle. Frank, can you? And they have Victor Arano as well.
I don't really know him.
He pitched well last year.
Okay, yeah, I don't know him.
Who did you need to look
I'm
up?
not going to say. I'm not
Just
going to
the
say
bullpen,
anything.
the
Bullpen
guys.
for us.
Yeah, for the Phillies.
Yeah,
All
do they?
right.
Who do they have any lefties? I'm sure they'll find a lefty at some point.
I'm not sure if we have a lefty. I think we have a lefty.
They do. They got him from Seattle.
Oh, what's his name? Oh, let's see.
Who's a lefty?
They give me the
reliever?
whole
Adam Morgan's a lefty.
Adam Morgan. Oh, we just
Is
acquired him too.
Is Niasco the
Is
lefty?
it Niasco?
Oh, Nicasio.
It is Nicasio.
Nicasio's a lefty.
Yeah, Nicasio. I mean, he's
Which-
okay. I mean, that's okay.
Yeah,
I
it's
just didn't know if they
Nicasio.
had any lefties.
Yeah.
I mean, that's okay.
The 1.04 ERA in 8 innings last year. I guess that's for the Phillies. The bullpen's going to be fine. Yeah, Kimbrel to the bullpen. Then you're in Yankees territory where you're going to make the game, 6.
Well, then
innings.
it becomes a
7-inning game.
6-7 inning game. That's what they really would need to do, especially when their third, fourth, and fifth pitchers are out there. I'm not really convinced about Arrieta yet either. I need to see Arrieta pitch a lot better than what he did last year. Last year he was not good.
No, he wasn't.
I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. 10 and
the only-
11 and a 3.9 ERA for a guy making.
Well, hopefully it doesn't get worse. And really, he only has a choice but to get better. And he's going to like pitching with a lead, which he's going to be pitching a lot with a lead. All these guys are. It's going to take a lot of pressure off the starters.
Absolutely. I can tell you firsthand about that kind of a situation. When you're starting pitching, when you have starting pitching and they know that the guys are going to hit, when they give up a couple of runs, they know that the next inning it could be just as easily end up being 3-2 after they gave up a couple of runs. They tend to relax a lot more and they don't start pressing. It just because of the strength of the Philly lineup, it really makes a big difference. It's kind of like the Yankees. I mean, when the Yankees are down 2 or 3-0, nobody gets too nervous because one swing of the bat and they can tie the game.
What do you think about Dallas Keuchel, Frank? Do you think the Phillies should sign him?
Yeah, I think they should sign him.
Yeah, I like that.
I
like
like
Dallas
it.
Keuchel.
I don't like him at all.
I like Dallas
the only thing I
Keuchel.
like about him is a lefty, and I'm not just going to sign a guy willy-nilly just
Yeah.
because of what hand he
I
uses
mean,
to
I would
pitch.
I would like him, but I would not sign him to a very huge deal. Especially, we do have the cap flexibility, but
I would just sign Kimbrel and
Well,
You would sign
put him in the
Kimbrel?
mix in the bullpen.
Your payroll now is $190 million.
Right.
So, really, I mean, unless you want to go over the threshold, which is what 207 now. I mean, it's going to cost. If you want Kimbrel, it's probably going to cost you around 15, 16, 17 mil, even if it's for a year or two. It's definitely going to cost you that much.
Yeah,
'cause
that's
he's going to
fine.
he's going to want Chapman money.
That's fine.
But I'm just saying, but if you have both of them, then you're going to be talking about a $225 million payroll. I don't see the Phillies.
As long as
that.
they don't reach the threshold where they would have to lose draft picks, then I don't care.
right.
Well, that the Red Sox are at that threshold now where they can't sign
That's
any
why
more
they
guys.
can't sign Kimbrel, and
Right.
they're going to have
They're going to have a
fairly risky bullpen by committee, in my opinion.
but they're going to score so many runs.
This is true.
It may not matter.
But I would rather have offense and bullpen than a good starting pitcher. Look at the Braves in the 90s. They went to the playoffs, 14 straight years? They won one championship.
Because they never had a good bullpen.
Right.
The
Phillies-
one year when they had Jeff Reardon, they won.
How about the Phillies' 4 aces? How'd that work out?
The four
They
aces.
lost.
Didn't. They lost.
They
They
lost.
lost in Game 5 of the NLDS because they scored 0 runs. So,
I mean, you're getting way ahead of yourself though with the playoffs. I mean, again,
no, I'm not.
our team,
Brad.
but our teams could be a lot different after the trade deadline if there's a deficiency. You have to remember that.
Yeah.
It's a long season. If the Phillies
That's a
truly
good
have
thing. They're going to improve at the deadline.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
And
so
I
right
already
now,
think that they're the favorites in the National League, so I welcome additions at the trade deadline. That's what good teams do at the trade deadline. They're aggressive and they spend money and they want to win. That's what the Phillies
absolutely.
are doing.
And they make sure they have trade chips available to do it with.
How about Bryce Harper in his press conference on Saturday? You see that, Frank? His press conference on Saturday,
Yes, his press conference was on
where
Saturday.
he came out smelling like a rose when everyone was calling him a douche for how many months
Yeah.
because he wouldn't sign. He didn't want to play in Philly. How about he doesn't want to play in Philly and he's got 13 years, no opt-outs. How's that take aging?
Well,
Jeez.
None at all.
None.
he's
He's 26 years old.
He wanted to stay in the same. I'll tell you what, he wanted to stay in the same place, and he doesn't want to move around. I mean, that's obvious. He wants to commit, and this is a good thing. This is a good thing for the Phillies too. I mean, this is a guy that you have locked up now.
It's a great thing for
you
the
don't have
Phillies.
to. You don't have to worry about him for the. You can build your team around him. I mean, he's the kind of player. Whether he's the best player in baseball or one of the top 10 best players in baseball, either way, you can build your team around him. He is a building block, and he's still young enough, and he's hitting his prime.
He's
best
26.
Years,
He's been to the All-Star game 6 times.
his best years should be ahead of him.
His best years are definitely ahead of him.
So, I mean, at this point,
How about his jersey sales?
I heard the most jersey sales in 48 hours of
Anyone
athlete
ever.
in any sport.
He beat LeBron's record when he went to the Lakers. But a lot of people changed their tune from their social media narrative that he stinks and he's not that good and
we don't need him.
we don't need him.
And
Just get Trout. Yeah.
Yeah,
All that
no,
changed
you
in about
can't-
30 seconds
you
after
can't
a John
guarantee-
Heyman tweet.
Yeah, you have to forget about Trout because you can't guarantee anything about Trout.
No, and everyone's just like, no, we won't sign Harper. We'll just get Trout. Like, there's no guarantee that that's going to happen.
No.
You're
No.
chasing a white whale that
Plus
may
it's-
may
plus
never
it's-
even show his face.
Plus, it's 2 years down the road. What are you going to do for the next 2 years?
Exactly.
You're not going to throw away the
Good
next 2
teams
seasons.
that
You're
win it
building.
in baseball,
You're building your team.
they spend money, they're aggressive, and they win.
Right. And when they get bad contracts off the books,
Like the Phillies
they
did.
go out and they get their money and they go out and they go grab another real good player. That's what good teams do.
Like, what did the Yankees? They missed the playoffs in, 2008, right?
Right.
And then they went out and
And
they spent a
spent-
bunch of money,
They spent money on
spent a
Sabathia,
bunch of wise money,
Sabathia,
Teixeira.
Burnett, and Teixeira, and they won a
They
championship
won the
in
World
2009.
Series.
And they were very competitive for the next 5-6 years. And then they got old, but when they
But
when
I don't
they got old,
understand-
they rebuilt, and now look at their team.
But who, the Yankees?
Yeah. I mean, they
But-
did a great job rebuilding.
but
They never
I
even
don't-
were under 500 when they rebuilt.
No,
Which
the
is-
Yankees
which
are
is a
never under
credit to-
500.
Which is a credit to their farm system because they were constantly able to bring guys up to keep the team competitive while they were
and
rebuilding.
then you traded Chapman for great prospects and then just signed them back in the offseason
which was
because you're not scared to spend money. I don't understand the Phillies fans that were worried about the money. It made no sense to me. Why do you want to operate like the Royals or the A's
or the
when
Mets.
Well, I mean, even the Mets, they're at what, 154 million for their payroll, something like that.
Yeah, but you know what? Yeah, they're 154 million, but don't forget 25 of it is in David Wright, and they get the money back from the insurance company for him not playing. So, I mean,
that's
the
fine,
Mets are just a complete.
Why would you want to
joke.
operate like the A's or the Royals when you don't have to? You're in a big market. You have money to spend. You have fans that support a good product. You have a monster TV contract.
Exactly.
What are you going to do? Just let the money rot?
You own your own. You own your baseball network.
Yes.
So
I don't understand. He's not worth it. That's not how good teams win. It's lazy. One of my friends said it was lazy to sign Bryce Harper for that money.
It's lazy.
And that's not what good teams do.
No.
That's not what smart teams do. Couldn't be less true.
It's not.
No, the same dude. My buddy Pat. He's all about Bryce Harper now.
Let me ask you a question.
Like a defense mechanism for these fans that he's not good and
when the Red Sox needed to get another great player on their team, did they not spend $25 million a year for Harper? For JD Martinez?
Yeah, and look what happened. They
won the World Series, and he was the
missing
piece
because
he
they
should have been the MVP last year.
They didn't have a basher to hit fourth and protect all those guys because Ortiz retired.
Right, and they thought that
So
they
they
could
were
get away
smart,
with it 1 year.
and they said, yeah, this guy cost us a lot of money, but he's going to be pretty good hitting fourth behind Betts and around
Benintendi.
Bogarts and Benintendi and just the embarrassment of riches that the Red Sox have. And JD Martinez damn near won the Triple Crown last year, and they won the World Series. Is a World Series worth $25 million?
Yes.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Yes. If
you spend to win.
If your fans support your team, the answer is yes.
You wouldn't be like the A's and just cheap out on everyone because your owner just doesn't want to win. No. You want to sign Bryce Harper for the next 13 years at $330 million. Gives you a chance to win. It excites the fans.
It keeps
200,000 tickets sold over the first weekend that he was in a Phillies uniform. 200,000 tickets.
The only thing that I don't understand is why weren't those tickets sold in the first place after making all those moves anyway?
Because,
I mean, they were already pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah. But there's
They were
not a
pretty
buzz like Harper.
No, okay.
Especially when we were in that lull for about a month where all the insider experts told everyone that Harper wasn't going to sign here, and the Giants were in the mix, and
then suddenly
the Dodgers were offering this huge AAV, which is just he wasn't interested. And then everyone says that he's
a West Coast guy.
He's a West Coast guy.
Yeah,
and
yada.
The Phillies aren't giving him an opt out, and that's why he's not signing here. It turns out an opt out was never even talked about. He didn't even want an opt out from Jump Street. He wanted to be in one place and build his family and have a chance to win. And he has all those things here. Because prior to contrary belief, Philadelphia is a fantastic city, especially when you win and you're an elite player. Look at Nick Foles. Nick Foles isn't even that good. He has a statue at Lincoln Financial Field.
As he should.
He will never, ever pay for a meal or drink again in Philadelphia. And he's not even that good. Bryce Harper is an elite baseball player who's going to hit 40 to 50 home runs for the next 5-6 years till he's 32.
I don't know if he's going to do that, but he has a chance to do
32.
it. 32. If he stays healthy.
He is a legitimate MVP candidate in the National League for the next 6 years.
Absolutely. I would agree with you.
And, could you imagine if he's getting all that money and hitting all those home runs and the Phillies actually – pile up a couple World Series, even one World Series. Forget about a couple. It's going to be unbelievable.
Just win one, and he'll get his just reward. Just the way Cole Hamels did, the way
Howard
and Utley.
Even though Howard never got the credit he deserved as a Philly.
You guys took him for not you, but a lot of your
disrespected.
A lot of your
because I got news for you. Those teams from what was it, 06 to 11, where they were really good.
They could mash.
They don't do any of that without Ryan Howard.
No.
All due respect to Jimmy Rollins and Utley, and
Ryan
and
Howard
Hamels.
was the backbone of that team.
He would just put the team on his back in the last 2 months and be in the MVP race and
Yeah, and
carry it through October.
Rob, everybody was afraid to pitch to him because he could break a game open. That was the whole point.
Yeah, and why do you think that the guys behind him, like Jason Worth and Raul Ibanez and Ruiz, got so many good pitches to hit?
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean that.
I think he's the most disrespected superstar in Philadelphia sports history, Ryan Howard. Honestly.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, he was a big time player. Didn't he get 58 home runs one year?
Yeah, and hit 338.
I mean, that's an unbelievable season.
He won a 21 MVP in 07.
That's an unbelievable season.
No, 06, I'm sorry. Jimmy won in 07. Beat Matt Holliday. Which I still have people tell me that Jimmy Rollins didn't deserve that MVP, which is just baffling to me. Guy was the best leadoff hitter in baseball and played Gold Glove shortstop every night. So
Over a butcher left fielder
yes.
who could hit but was
Yeah.
a butcher in the outfield. Didn't he drop a fly ball in the playoffs that year that cost them a series?
I don't
It cost them
remember.
a series. I think they did.
I don't remember it as in depth like that. But
I seem to remember him in left field dropping a fly ball, and what team did he play for? The
he
Cardinals.
was on
or
the
Dodgers?
Rockies.
He also
He was on the Rockies in 07 when he almost won MVP. Then he got traded to the A's.
Okay, well then it was the Rockies. Then he dropped the fly
He was on
ball
the
and they ended
Cardinals.
up-
He was on the Cardinals for a couple years too, if I remember right.
I mean, he dropped the fly. I just remember in a playoff game, he dropped the fly ball in left field, and 2 runs scored. And I think it was when he was with the Cardinals. I think they ended up losing the series because of him. But no, I would rather have Rollins than I would rather have Rollins. Rollins is going to be a Hall of Fame.
He should be a
shortstop.
Hall of Famer. Yes,
He should be.
I
a Hall of Fame
100%
shortstop.
agree.
He's
Let's
he's
one of
got
these
big
days
time. He's got big time numbers. He should. I mean, he's a shortstop.
when he's eligible, we're gonna look at his numbers against some of the shortstops that are in the
Yeah, no, I think
Hall
he
of
should-
Fame.
I would
And
think
people
that-
are gonna be surprised. And I'm sorry, if guys like Harold Baines are in the Hall of Fame, then there's certainly room for Jimmy Rollins. Just saying.
Oh, I agree. I'm the one who brought it up. I
Yeah.
think he's a Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
I think both him and your boy Utley. I think your Keystone combination is definitely going to be
We'll
in
see
there.
about Utley. I would have to dive a little deeper into his numbers, though.
Utley had some big time numbers in his prime. I mean,
He
the problem
did,
with Utley
but-
is that he hung around too long and he kind of messed up his lifetime WAR and his average and some other things.
Yeah, but
I
WAR
mean,
is WAR is a nerd stat.
but if you
Come
if you
on.
take a look, but if you go through all his numbers, if you go through all his numbers when he was in his prime.
Yeah, he was
He
a
was a
power
Hall-
hitting. He was a
he was a Hall of
slugging
Fame-
second baseman,
He's
which
a Hall
is
of
rare.
Fame level second baseman. I mean, how
But
many
was he
second
was he a
basemen hit
Hall
that?
of was he elite enough for long enough? Because that's my thing with Howard. Why he won't get in. He really only had 4 or 5 good years. A, because the Phillies dilly-dallied around and didn't bring him up when they should have because they signed Tomey.
You
And
can't
then
second guess
and then
that.
he got injured in 2011. He tore his Achilles and he was
Right.
just never the same after that.
Right.
So I think that's the uphill battle that
Well, he's got the same.
Utley and Howard
Yeah,
face getting into
I mean,
Cooperstown.
Chase Utley. I mean, I'm gonna look up his stats because I do think Chase Utley stats. Okay. And again, I'm not going to take a look at the
Baseball reference. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm not going to take a look at the garbage he put up when he was with the Dodgers because he was not he hung around too long. That was the problem with him.
Came up in 03 and played until last year. He really busted out in 05 where he hit 28 homers and hit 291. In 06, 309, 332.
He scored 131 runs in 06.
In 06. He was
I
an
mean, that's a
all-star for
huge. That's a huge number. 32 homers and 102 RBIs.
Yeah, I mean, he
05,
was an all-star.
28, 105.
Yeah, but like Howard, in 2011, he didn't play a lot of games. 2012, he didn't play a lot of games.
I mean, after 2000, from 2005 to 2009, he put up elite numbers.
He really bounced back. In 14, he made another all-star team, so that's 6 all-star teams. But still only had 11 home runs, 78 runs batted in, a 270 average. I mean,
the problem with him, as I said, after he
I don't know if I can get there.
After he got traded to the Dodgers.
No MVPs, no Gold Gloves.
After he went to the Dodgers, he should have retired then because he was clearly done.
Yes, he was traded in the middle of the 2015 season to the Dodgers and played 15, 16, 17, and 18.
Six-time All-Star.
Not a bad season in 2016 with 14 home runs, 52 RBIs, and a 252 average. I can't get there with Utley in the Hall of Fame. But like I said, guys like Howard Baines getting into the Hall of Fame
again,
make it
you
possible.
You look at these numbers as a second baseman. Okay, I mean, how many lifetime home runs did he hit? He had 259 home runs. I'm gonna look up Joe Morgan. I'm not saying he's better than Joe Morgan. Okay, please don't anybody put that words in my mouth.
Who
but
cares?
Joe Morgan was a Hall
Who
of
gives
Famer.
a shit? Yeah.
And so I'm just gonna compare some of his numbers to Joe Morgan's.
It's not like
numbers.
Joe Morgan's like Babe Ruth.
No,
I mean,
but I'm just
mortal player. Yeah, he was very good.
Yeah.
But I mean,
now Joe Morgan.
there's
okay,
just not enough there for me to put Utley in the Hall of Fame.
Okay, Joe Morgan hit 268 lifetime home runs.
Yeah, but I'm sure his
Straight.
average was through the roof.
I bet you it wasn't because he's another one that played too long. 271 lifetime average.
That's not bad.
Huh? I mean, I'm just looking. Hey,
I have Jimmy's stats up here right now. He's 264.
I'm just throwing this out because Joe
Different
Morgan
position,
played.
but
Joe Morgan played too long. Joe Morgan hung around too long, and he ruined his stats. When Joe Morgan was in his prime, the most home runs he ever hit was 26. Okay, his highest batting average was, let's see.
yeah, but they're different players because Joe Morgan was good at defense, whereas Utley was average, and Utley was a rare slugging second baseman.
Right. Okay.
Whereas Joe Morgan, was not.
Joe Morgan also hit 292, 290, 293, 327, 320. I mean, he hit 300. He only hit 300 twice in his career. I mean, honestly,
Whereas I don't think Chase Utley ever hit 300.
He did, of course. Joe Morgan did win 2 MVPs. So, I mean,
he only played 14 games in 2000.
Four Golden Gloves and 2 MVPs. But I mean, but if you look at their lifetime stats,
Chase Utley has. No, that's Jimmy Rollins. Excuse me.
Bring up Chase Utley. I'm going to compare. I want to compare some of these lifetime numbers. Joe Morgan had 2,500 lifetime hits.
Yeah, Utley's nowhere near that.
Okay.
I would. 1,885.
All right, so that's
significantly
less. Home runs 268 for Morgan.
259. That's close enough.
That's close. RBIs 1133 for Morgan.
1025 for Utley.
That's close though. Here's the big difference. Joe Morgan stole 689 bases.
Right. Utley only had 154.
Right, and Joe Morgan scored 1,650 runs, and that's
only 1103 for Utley. What was his on base percentage, Joe Morgan?
On base percentage 392.
358. So
yeah, he's significantly better. He is.
Career
he's
WAR,
one of the great,
if you care about that.
I'm not worried about
65.4 career WAR. I mean, it pains me to say it because I remember some of the big plays he made in the playoffs, but like when he caught the ball and he tugged second against the Dodgers in the 08 NLCS, when he backhanded it and faked the first to throw home in the 08 World Series to get Iwamura at the plate.
Well, now,
unbelievable.
here-
Just a totally iconic Philadelphia athlete, but I mean, he's not a Hall of Famer.
Okay, well, I'm going to look up another one. Bill Mazeroski, who's a second baseman who used to play
Shot
for the
heard
Pirates.
around the world.
Yeah, don't remind me. But let
Game
me.
7 of the 1960
Yeah,
World Series. Brad.
yeah. Big piece of shit. Anyway,
Bill Mazeroski.
Bill Mazeroski. Okay,
Who's on that Yankee? Was that a DiMaggio
that was
team,
Mantle.
Brad?
That was Mantle, Maris, Berra.
Yep.
The Yankees were so much better.
Not
than
a
they
bad
That
were.
was a very good
Well,
Yankees
that's
team.
why, that's why they
60.
play the games there, Brad.
Exactly. Okay. Now this is ridiculous because Bill Mazeroski was not even. I mean, defensively, he won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He won 7 Gold Gloves, 8 Gold Gloves. However, offensively, his lifetime average was 260. He
Okay,
hit,
well, Utley's is 264.
okay. He hit 138 lifetime home runs, 853 RBIs, stole only 27 bases, got caught 23 times, so he was totally not a stolen
No.
base guy. He walked only 447
he didn't
times.
get on base. He didn't walk. I have it right here. His WAR was only 36.5, but he's an 8-time Gold Glover,
Okay.
a 10-time All-Star.
So are you going to make Mark Belanger a Hall of Famer? He won a lot of Gold
well,
Gloves.
Bill Mazeroski's in the Hall of Fame, Brad.
I know he is.
I didn't put him there, but he's in.
But I'm just saying, if he's in, then how come Utley isn't in? Then why do you think Utley wouldn't be in?
Because
Take a look at his numbers.
he's a 10-time All-Star as opposed to 6 for Utley, and an 8-time Gold Glove as opposed to 0 for Utley.
Actually, he's a 7-time All-Star. 1, 2, 3, 4.
10-time All-Star. I have his
5,
baseball
6,
reference page right here.
7. It says here he was.
He
had
was an
7
All-Star
Gold
in
Gloves.
58, 59, 60, 62, 63, 64, 67.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, it's weird. Why
That's
does it say
7.
10-time All-Star?
It's 7. He was in there 7.
Well, look, right here. Why does it say 10-time All-Star?
It's
right
wrong.
there? I
It's
can see
wrong.
that.
Yeah, he was in the All-Star. He was a 7-time All-Star. 7-time 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-time Gold Glove winner. So okay, he was
So they have that.
okay.
Gold Glove is a tremendous accomplishment, Brad. I
I-
know it doesn't get you fantasy stats or look good on Sports Center, but
No,
it's a huge part of baseball.
Oh,
fielding.
I understand that. Of course, it's important. It's not like Utley wasn't a butcher though.
No, he wasn't a butcher, but he was far from a Gold Glove caliber
But he was
defensive second
a
baseman.
much better offensive player than Bill Mazeroski though.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I'm
that's
just-
correct.
I'm just listen. I'm trying to throw out some guys to compare for you, okay? And I think he's in the conference. I think he's definitely in the conversation. If you want to say he's a on the bubble, okay.
Right. I'm much more hard on Hall of Fame resumes than
Well, if as you said, and I'll put this right back at you again. If Harold Baines is in,
Yeah.
I mean,
Harold Baines. Like, that's a joke.
Harold Baines was a good player. Don't get me wrong, but Harold Baines was just that. He was he was actually a very good player. I do not think in any way, shape, or form he was a Hall of Famer. Even in his prime, he wasn't that dominant. When you take a look at like Utley's years, Utley in his prime, some of those years he had were just phenomenal. This is for a second baseman. Second basemen don't hit like that. Even now, you don't have that many second basemen. There's like maybe 4 or 5 second basemen in baseball right now that are good hitters. The rest of them are kind of guys that go up there and try to hack away and hit for a decent average and try to
the
get on
only thing that
base.
Harold Baines has going for him is he's a 289 hitter over
Since when is it 289? Since
over
when is-
21 years.
Yeah, but
that's
since
the only
when is
thing that's
289?
I'm just saying that's the only thing that's somewhat impressive about his resume.
How many home runs did he hit lifetime?
384 in 21 years.
I mean, that's a Hall of Fame
At
career.
2866. I mean, that's a lot of hits.
That's
but
a lot of hits, but he played
should have a
forever.
lot of hits.
He's a
after-
compiler.
Right.
That's a
He's
compiler.
like Craig Biggio. I don't care if Craig Biggio has 3,000 hits. He's not a transcendent
Well,
player. He
yeah, but if
doesn't-
you 3,000 hits is to me is special, so I'd give it to him there. But Harold Baines. Obviously, some White Sox fans were in there that wanted him. Wanted him.
Clearly.
And yes, Bob, you're right. Well, Mazeroski was a World Series champion, MVP. That's very true. He was a World Series MVP.
He actually wasn't. He was not the World Series MVP
Oh, he wasn't
that
the
year.
MVP in '60?
Nope. It was Bobby Richardson, the only World Series MVP to be on a losing team.
Oh, there you
So
go.
he's on the Yankees, and he won the World Series anyway.
Yep.
What did he do to win the World Series?
Well, let's
'Cause
see. To
I
get
still
the MVP,
I still maintain that Chase Utley should have been the MVP of the 09
let's
World
see.
Series over Hideki
Oh,
Matsui.
no. Matsui.
I'll
Matsui
argue
won.
until the day I die, Brad.
Matsui won 2 games. Won
Let's
2
see.
games.
Chase Utley, he broke Reggie
Let's see
Jackson's
what he
record for
did.
most home runs in the World Series.
He did have a pretty good World Series. I
Pretty
remember that.
good.
Yeah, he had a very
Every
good
time
World
he
Series.
stepped to the plate, he hit it over the fence. It was unbelievable. I'll argue that till the day I die that he should have been the MVP of that World Series. And Bobby Richardson, he must have done something pretty special to.
Yeah, he hit like.
It's just
crazy
like
in that World
LeBron.
Series.
The one year he averaged a triple double in the finals, but they lost in 6 or 7 games to the Warriors. I thought he should have been.
No, LeBron.
It was the year that Love and Kyrie both got hurt. Remember?
And yes,
All right.
yes, and
they
Robert
almost-
Massey checking in. If the Angels are smart, Trout will never see free agency. And Bob, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't think he's ever going to see free agency. Quite honest with you. To be quite honest with you,
He
but-
might get traded, and then get signed up right away by whoever trades him.
All right.
But
Yeah,
I-
but the Angels have.
All right.
What do you
I
got,
got
Frank?
Richardson's stats from the 60 World Series. He had 2 doubles, 11 hits, 2 doubles, 3 triples, 1 home run, 12 ribbies, 1 walk, 367 average.
12 ribbies.
12 ribbies.
That's a lot of ribbies for a World Series.
Yeah, especially that the Yankees scored 55 runs in that entire
7
series
games.
in 7 games, and yet they still lost.
That's a lot.
They outscored them like 55-20.
Yeah.
Except the problem is the games that they lost all their games by like 1 run. And the games they won like 17-2, 15-1, 10-0. And the games they lost, they were all heartbreaking losses. And actually, the game 7, they actually had a 5-run lead, and they brought in Coates to try to wrap up that game, and he totally screwed up the game.
What a shame.
Well, that was Casey Stengel. Unfortunately, did not make a good move.
How the Mick doing that series?
1960.
I can look that up for you.
Mantle.
I got the almanac up.
Okay.
Let's see. I
I
gotta
love
find
Mickey
it.
Mantle.
Mickey Mantle.
He was drunk all the time.
Yeah, but boy, could he hit.
Imagine if he wasn't drunk.
Yeah, he would have played longer, and he wouldn't have had to retire.
He would
when
have been the
was
best player.
36.
He would have been the best baseball player ever.
Yeah,
All right, it's giving me all of.
if he didn't
stuff.
hurt his knee too. That stupid drain
See,
pipe in
Mickey
Yankee Stadium.
Mantle.
Yeah, his rookie year, right?
I think it was his second year.
Let's see, World Series.
That's all
stats.
right. You know, we don't need the mixed stats.
Yeah.
He probably did pretty good if they were scoring 17 runs a game, as Brad.
Well,
pointed
he had
out.
some. He had some 1960 World Series stats.
Mickey Mantle went. He had a 400 average, 10
Yeah.
hits, 1 double, 3 home runs, 8 runs, 11 ribbies.
So yeah, he did all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, the games the Yankees won that year. Game 2 they won 16-3. Game 3 they won 10-0. And game 6 they won 12-0.
And they lost Game 7.
They
and
lost
the
game
series,
7
which is
10-9.
all that matters, Brad.
Yep. And yeah, and they lost 5-2 in game 5. They lost 3-2 in game 4. And they lost game 1 6-4. And I guess the yeah, no, Bobby Shantz was the one that blew that World Series. The pitcher that got hammered in that World Series was Ralph Terry, who lost a couple of games there. Hard to believe that they would lose. They would lose to a team with the talent Pittsburgh had, because their lineup compared to the Yankees lineup was not even close. But it is what it is.
All right, Brett, let's take a break. We'll be back. Sports Hounds, A2D Radio. We'll talk some hockey, talk some basketball, and talk some NFL free agency. Surprisingly, the Eagles very active this week. Flyers 5 games back of a playoff, and the Sixers barreling towards the playoffs as they try to fight for that 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. A2D Radio. We'll be back right after this.
Hi, folks. Bob Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
A2D Radio, Sports Hounds, we're back. Talking some NHL, some Flyers. The trade deadline has come and gone. Wayne Simmons is no longer a Flyer, but they get a guy who fit in nicely, Brad, and Ryan Hartman. And the Flyers, despite losses,
they're similar players.
Despite losses of the Canadians and the Lightning, are right in the thick of this thing in the Eastern Conference. They're 5 points back of the Eastern Conference, the last wild card. And I don't care that they're going to get in and maybe play Tampa Bay and get their brains beat in. I want them to be in the playoffs. The interesting thing that they're going to have to decide is when Carter Hart is healthy, are they going to put him back in, or are they going to ride the hot hand with Brian Elliott, who's been absolutely fantastic?
They'll ride the hot hand with Brian Elliott.
You think?
Absolutely.
He's been playing lights out.
He will play until he cools off.
And then you put Carter Hart
and then
back
you put
in.
Carter Hart back in. Exactly. I mean, if you're trying to make the playoffs this year,
why wouldn't you be?
Why wouldn't you be when you're only 5 points out? Okay, they should be trying to make the playoffs. There's no reason not to. Carter Hart can always come back in the in training camp next year and try to win the job. Okay,
Which
but
he will win the job.
Yeah, and he probably will. But right now, if Elliott is the one that's leading them through this hot streak right now, you got to put him in there, and you got to leave him in there. And if he cools off, you've got any number of goalies to go to with the Flyers because they have more goalies on their team than a third world country. So at this point, you go with him.
What would you assess their playoff chances are?
25%.
25%.
Yeah.
So let's look at their upcoming schedule. They got the Capitals. That's probably going to be a loss. Maybe they can steal the Bettman point and force it to overtime somehow, so they don't get nothing.
Possibly.
I mean, at the Islanders, they just beat the Islanders 4-1 on Sunday.
I don't think you can expect to beat them at home twice. That's asking a lot.
4-1. I mean, it's not like they
oh, absolutely.
cruise by because they have.
I'm just saying the
Giroux
Islanders
and Voracek are playing awesome.
But the Islanders also beat them 6-1 earlier in the year in Philadelphia. I mean, they're more than capable.
Yeah, but that was probably back when they were losing every game.
Probably, yeah. But I mean, the Islanders have been a good home team this year, so don't count them out.
Unless you're playing the Lightning, I don't think the Flyers are out of it against anyone.
Well, who's the rest of their schedule?
They're not. But
they have to play the Canadians, who have really beat.
Yeah,
the
they
hell
have
out. The Canadians have beat
Washington,
the
Islanders, Ottawa.
Ottawa should be a win.
Capitals.
And that's another tough game.
At Toronto is tough.
Yeah, that's a tough game.
At Pittsburgh on March 17th. That's a huge game.
That's another tough game.
You get the Canadians, but that's at home. You got to beat the
Canadians
Blackhawks on the road.
The Canadians are tough, and I'll tell you what, Carey Price right now is playing outstanding hockey.
You're at the Blackhawks.
That's a game you have to win.
That's a game that they're going to have to win.
Yeah, they've got to win.
And they have the
game.
Islanders again. So we're going to be familiar with the Islanders here down the stretch.
Absolutely.
For sure. Same with the Capitals, it looks like. 3 games against each of those teams.
How many times do they play Columbus? They have any more games with Columbus?
They are done with Columbus.
What about Carolina?
They play Carolina the last game of the season on April 6th.
That could be for the playoffs.
And they also play that game's at home on April 6th. They go to Carolina on Saturday, March the 30th.
Wow. Okay. Carolina right now is playing outstanding hockey.
And then you have the Rangers are mixed in there.
The Rangers stink. You should win those two games. You should win that game.
Just one. Yeah, Dallas, who's good. It's St. Louis, who's good. You got them mixed in there.
Are they home or away again in those games?
They're both away.
All right, so 1-1 is not asking too much, right?
But, I mean,
Dallas and St. Louis.
but you say 25%, and I'm looking at a pretty hard schedule here.
Yeah, that does look like
that's
a
why I
hard
said
schedule.
it's 25%.
I mean, I'm looking at a couple
I
things.
wouldn't say 50. I wouldn't say 50-50. It's
No.
not 50. It's about 20. It's about 25%.
I know, but I figured it seems to me like it
Yeah.
should be less than 25%.
It is less than 25% from what I'm looking at on here. I'm looking at their playoff picture right now. They have an 87% chance of missing the playoffs.
87?
So they have a
87.
13%. That's including
Yeah.
my favorite, the analytics.
Yeah, their best odds right now is that they can make the 8th spot in the East with a 7% chance.
I will take it.
Yeah.
7%?
They shouldn't have lost all those games in a row to start the season. But when I'm watching this team right now, you have Giroux and Voracek, who are playing outstanding. Voracek, I'm not the biggest fan of him, but Giroux's the captain. He's playing like the captain. I love Nolan Patrick. I love Travis Konechny. I'm not so sure about Ghost and Provorov. I don't really know how good they are. It seems like every time Provorov is out there on the ice, he gets lit up and scored against. And Ghost is just an offensive puck mover. He does nothing to help you on defense.
He's still young, though. He'll get better.
I like Nolan Patrick. Konechny. Coots is one of the best two-way
Didn't Patrick
players.
get hurt the other night?
Yes, I believe.
Yeah, he got injured the other night.
My point is looking at the team going
No,
forward.
no, I'm just saying from a playoff standpoint though, he got hurt the other night.
And
That's gonna hurt.
I love Phil Myers. I love Sanheim. I don't think Moran's too good, but we'll see. Bryce Blackwell thinks the Flyers will get in. Bondi Sports Max are watching the Leafs versus the Flames right now. I would imagine. Well, the Flames are good this year too.
Oh, the Flames are outstanding.
They got my boy Gaudreau.
Yeah, they're
Johnny Hockey.
Johnny Hockey.
The Flames, I think, have the
And the
best record in the West right now.
The
They
Rangers
do, yeah.
have Anthony DeAngelo. He's
Anthony
on your
DeAngelo has been playing
South Philly.
extremely good hockey this
You
year
don't
for
deserve
them.
him. You don't deserve him up there in New York, though.
Well,
He's
listen,
good at skating.
He's a good offensive defenseman. He still needs to learn a little bit on in the defensive. I'll tell you what, he got into a fight the other day with Kyle Okposo, knocked him out in one punch.
You and your fights.
Oh,
you and
know,
your
listen,
hockey
I
fights.
love my
you
hockey
get geeked
fights.
up on your hockey fights.
No,
That's for sure.
You can be guaranteed of one thing, folks. If you follow me on Facebook, if there's a good fight, I will always post it.
That's true.
I will always post a good fight, even if it's one of my guys getting beat up, because I did post Ryan Reeves against Adam McQuaid. That was a hell of a fight, too. But if there's a good fight, you will find it. I'll tell you what, that fight between Chara and Evander Kane, woo, that was
I don't care that
nasty one.
Zdeno Chara is 42 or not. He's still, what's he,
You get
6
him
foot,
mad?
What's he,
6'9",
6'8"?
6'9", and that big dummy Evander Kane went and elbowed him, started punching, knocked him down, and continued to hit him when Chara was down. Chara got up and just lit him up. And it was kind of enjoyable. I don't like Chara, but I kind of enjoyed that because I don't like seeing anybody take dirty shots at anybody.
Well, it's the Bruins, too.
Yeah, but you know what though?
I hate Boston.
I do too.
I don't like Boston.
But I don't like seeing anybody taking cheap shots. I don't care who it is, and if I don't whether I like or dislike a team. I don't like cheap shots. I don't like guys hitting guys when they're on the ground. But the fact that he did that to Chara and Chara got up and lit him up, that was good to see. It's good to see an old man. That old man can still fight, boy, and he can still play. I'll tell you. The Boston Bruins
outside
outside
of Tampa Bay, who's just got 15 to 20 more points than anybody in the East. Who is the second best team in the
Washington
East?
Capitals.
You think it's the Capitals?
Absolutely.
Okay, even there's no The hangover's gone from last year, winning their
second
cup.
half of the season, they've second half of the
wrote
season,
shit.
they've
And Alexander Ovechkin, I'm sure, is on his way.
Has 45
So
goals.
he's well on his way to 50. He's definitely going to get 5 more goals.
Oh,
in
he
the
will get
last
5 more goals.
Part of the season.
Yeah.
So, in terms of right now, on who you would or wouldn't want to play in the Eastern Conference, where do the Flyers fit into that? The Flyers are a hot team right now.
I mean, honestly, I'm looking at the Flyers, and I don't know. I mean, they had a good game against the Islanders. I mean, again, I'd have to see what happens with the Islanders playing a couple of more games against them. But I mean, I'm looking at this from an honest point of view right now. They just lost to Columbus. I mean, they might be better than Carolina. I don't think they're better than the Penguins. I mean, they're certainly not better than the Leafs.
They just beat the Penguins, though, in the Stadium Series.
Yes, I know that, but the Penguins have won the other 2 games. Then you've got in the other division the Bruins, and the Maple Leafs. I don't think they're better than the Bruins or the Maple Leafs. I mean, really, I think at this point...
Okay, but they're playing like a top 8 team in the Eastern Conference right now.
Oh, they've been hot now. Yeah, I would agree. I have to see if they can continue to do it, though. I mean, because they have been an up and down team this year.
Yeah,
they've had some nice streaks, and then they've had some really bad streaks, and that's been the problem, is that they've had too many bad streaks.
They had the big one there where they lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in a row from Thursday, December 27th to Tuesday, June 8th. I mean, if you're 500 in that stretch, you're
in the playoffs
pretty easily as well.
Well, look, I mean,
so that's what's frustrating about the Flyers.
You can
Oscar
same.
Lindblom is another guy that I love.
I can make the same argument with the Rangers. I mean, they've had 12 overtime losses this year. I mean, if they could have gone 6-6 instead of losing all 12 of those games, they'd be right in it with the Flyers right now.
Yeah, but I mean, come on. The Rangers are 27-27. They've had no consistent.
Yeah, but they have 12 overtime losses. All I'm saying is their 3-on-3 efforts this year have been awful. I mean, they've only lost 3 shootout games, but they're 1-9 in 3-3. I mean, you can't be 1-9 3-on-3. You just can't be that bad. That's what's killed them. You know, I mean, they're obviously defensively. The Rangers have got to go out this summer and bring in some defensemen. You know, and they're going to be playing a lot of kids, so they still may not make the playoffs next year either. But when you look at getting back to the Flyers again, I thought that the Flyers at the beginning of the season had a chance to win this division.
That didn't happen.
They played very badly to start the season, and they have picked it up now. But again, you know, they have such a tough schedule coming up. They're going to have to play at a very, very high level. Their best players are going to have to play like their best players, and they're going to need a little help. Some of these teams that are ahead of them are going to have to go into slumps. I mean, you know, it's going to be tough. You don't have that many games left because teams get a point for losing. You know what I'm talking about.
The Bettman point.
Yeah, because teams get a point for losing in overtime. That's what makes it so tough to catch up.
Right.
You know, I mean that really just kind of kills it. I mean, I think what the NHL should do, and they won't, but what they should do is 3 points for a regulation win, 2 points for an overtime win, and 1 point for the. If you're going to give a team a point for overtime win or for an overtime loss, if you win in regulation, you should get 3 points. I think that would more accurately. I think that would keep the top teams. It would give an advantage to, and the lesser teams would be out and not be in it, because I don't like seeing bad teams still in it when they shouldn't be, when they don't deserve it.
I agree with you.
I mean,
I hate the Bettman point.
The Rangers,
I think it's a stupid
the Rangers
idea.
should be 27 and 39. Let's be honest, okay? They should be 27 and 39. 27 and 39. They shouldn't even be a.
It's a bad team.
Yeah,
27
that's
and
what
39.
I'm saying.
It's a bad hockey team.
That's not good. That's because it's 12 losses. But you get that, and people may have the misconception that they're a 500 team. They're not. It's just like last year when the Flyers were 42, 28, and I think they were 42, 28, and 12. And I said that they were 42 and 40. That's really what they were.
Yes.
That's why they barely made the playoffs.
I agree with you. I don't know I don't know how they came upon this Bettman point.
Well,
rule.
because they, for many years when they had ties, you got a point for a tie, and they didn't want it. The traditionalists.
That's fine. I'd rather go to that than watch. I mean, 3-on-3 hockey in overtime. I'll give it to them. It is entertainment.
Oh, it's great to watch.
It's
But
no
the bad
bearing
team-
on who the better hockey team is in a traditional setting.
No, because they don't do it in the
None.
playoffs. See, my problem with the NHL is if you're going to have an overtime,
I would
Okay,
say
like that.
no overtime. Just go right to the shootout if it's tied in the regular season. Just go right to the shootout, and the winner gets 2
John
points.
Tortorella wouldn't like you too much.
Why?
John Tortorella wants the shootout gone, and he wants to play 3-on-3 until the game's decided.
I don't care what John Tortorella thinks. The 3-on-3 hockey
Most
in
hockey-
overtime
most
is
hockey-
not an indication of who the better
Most hockey
5-on-5 hockey team is. You're changing the whole game.
Oh, I understand.
It's a totally different game.
Most hockey purists will tell you though that we don't really like we don't like shootouts. I in particular I hate shootouts. To me, you're turning the game into an embarrassment. You're turning it into a skills competition. That would be like the NBA going into overtime, and after
You
the
play
first
3-on-3.
after the first overtime, if the game's tied after the first overtime, you just have a bunch of guys playing horse. I mean, you might as well just do that because that's how big a joke.
I agree with you.
I mean, same thing with baseball. I mean, that would be like baseball. If the game goes more than 10 innings, it'd be like, well, let's have the home run hitting contest between our two top sluggers and their two top sluggers
I
because we
would
don't
love
want to
that.
waste any pitchers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like that.
That'd be
Well, it'd be
really fun.
exciting.
Yeah.
It'd be exciting, but
Well, the
it'd be
Phillies would have Bryce
ridiculous.
Harper.
Well, we'd have Judge and Stanton. I mean, we'd win every game.
You're in the American League. We don't have to worry about you.
Right. Well, that's okay. No, but you understand my
Yeah.
point, though. I'm just
It's
trying.
silly. You're
and
changing
again,
the whole.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make a point.
It's an impure form of the game, 3-on-3 overtime hockey. I'd rather them just go to the shootout, the terminal winner for the fans, and just have it be like straight win-loss.
But if you're going to go through
like
this
they
whole,
do in the NBA,
but if you're going to have this whole charade, okay, then make it 3 points for winning it. Make it important to win the game without going to overtime. Because what happens is, if there's 4 minutes to go
I'm
in the
with you.
game,
I hear you.
both teams, especially if teams are playing from out of the division. Okay, let's just say for the hell of it, let's say the Flyers are playing the Flames.
Yes.
Okay, and it's a 3-3 game.
Yeah.
And there's 4 minutes to go, and you're here. Okay, you really need to make sure you get that point. And and Calgary wants to get that road point. So you know what? You're both going to sit back and you're going to play defensive hockey and wait till overtime, and then take your chances in overtime and guarantee that you get that 1 point. That's a bunch of crap.
I'm with you. I hate
that's
the
a
bet. I
bunch of
hate the
crap.
Bettman
And they
point.
do that. They do that all the time.
Bettman point sucks.
Yeah, it's awful. Ruins it to me. It ruins third periods because teams don't go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when they're playing out of their division. The only time you ever see a team go for it is if it's 2 teams in the same division and they're battling for a playoff spot. Okay, and to make up 2 points on a team is very important. And again, you're going to have the same issue because the team that's ahead,
Like the
is gonna
scenario
go for
you
the
just
tie.
the scenario you just laid out was brilliant because if you have an Eastern Conference team against a Western Conference team in a tight third period, the team that's on the road is just going to want their going to get their point and live the fight another day.
Yeah, they're gonna make sure that they at least get that tie, as will the team in the East, because they're gonna want to make sure that they at least get 1 point and then try to get 2 points and then see what happens in the overtime.
Any
Maybe
idea
where
you get rewarded for losing in professional sports is dumb.
Oh,
and
I
hate
agree.
it. And I hate it.
I don't like it either. I don't
All
like
right.
it either. I think it's a terrible idea.
Let's move on to the NBA, Brad, because Andrew Bogut, MVP of the Australian League, looks like he's going to come back over to America.
Crikey.
And he was between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Warriors for his services, and it looks like he's going to choose the Warriors.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is he even going to play?
Yeah, he play for the Sixers.
I know, but is he going to play for the Warriors? I mean,
Probably not.
Boogie is playing
even though
great
he should.
basketball now.
Well, he's still on a little bit of a minutes restriction because of his
He
Achilles.
got 25 points the other day.
Yeah, I know. Well, he can score 25 points in 25 minutes, 30 minutes. He's that good.
No, I understand that, and then they still put.
But, I mean, we've talked about this on this show before. Bogut will play a role on that team because past their 5, I don't think their bench is as good as it's been in years past. They just have an unbelievable starting 5, which is going to get it done 95% of the time. But Draymond Green has been banged up. They have this guy Damon Lee. I don't even know how he's in the league. And then they flashed a graphic up on the screen on Saturday that he's Steph Curry's brother-in-law. So that's how he's
okay,
in.
well,
That's how he's in the
Lovely.
league. Oh, he's flipping and flopping around. He's a complete embarrassment. And then Iguodala's washed up. Sean Livingston is. He's
Iguodala
okay.
can still play defense, though. That's.
A little bit. He's no
Well, yeah,
spring
but he
chicken.
only plays-
He's
he
no
only-
spring chicken.
No, what does he
Iguodala.
play? Like 13, 14 minutes a game, though?
He's gonna have to play more if Green isn't.
Yeah, but you would think that they would probably rest Green and
But
make sure that he's
Bogut
ready
would
for
have
the
played
playoffs.
because Boban Marjanovic and Joel Embiid still aren't ready to go.
Yeah, no, he would have been. He'd get more action.
And I
with the
think you
Sixers.
can probably play Bogut with Embiid. If you
and have a
wanted-
twin tower situation.
if you wanted to. Whereas Boban is not athletic enough to play.
Well, that would create.
With
I'll tell
Joe.
you what, that would definitely create a matchup nightmare for other teams.
But the Phillies are the Sixers. They're trucking along. Boston is a complete and utter mess right now.
They're in disarray.
They're in disarray, and it's funny that the only team that the Celtics seem to be able to consistently beat this season is the Sixers.
Yeah, but
They
the way,
have the Sixers number.
the way things are going, it doesn't seem. I still think Philly is going to catch Indiana and get that third spot.
Everyone. It's funny because when Oladipo went down, everyone counted the Pacers out and said that they were just going to fold like a tent. And
They're not going to fold like a tent.
They're not
but
folding
I just think,
like a tent.
But I just think that the Sixers are just a little bit better, and I think they'll end up catching them for that third spot. And if they catch them for the third spot, then they're going to play Brooklyn in the first round, and they should beat Brooklyn.
Well, it's Detroit right now.
Okay,
actually.
Detroit. Okay, so then
They were able to leapfrog.
okay, because Brooklyn went into a tailspin.
Well,
And
Detroit's
been red
on
hot.
fire. They're
Yeah,
8-2 in their last 10.
Yeah, and Detroit's been playing.
But
excellent
Detroit,
basketball.
Andre Drummond and Blake Griffin is not enough to beat the Sixers.
No.
The Eastern Conference playoffs doesn't start until the second round, where the Final Four is going to be. Actually, I shouldn't even say that because I wouldn't count the Pacers out against the Celtics in a 7-game series right now. The Celtics have no continuity, and I'm starting to believe that the Celtics are a better team without Kyrie Irving, with Rozier at the point. I know that doesn't make much.
I'm also starting to believe that Kyrie Irving really doesn't want to be a Boston Celtic.
I don't think so either, but I don't understand why he barked his mouth to get away from LeBron. He gets traded to maybe the best possible situation he could have gotten traded to, and he still doesn't really seem to be happy. So I don't get it with Kyrie Irving. So what? He's going to sign with the Knicks in the off season, and then he's going to be happy all of a sudden?
Better make sure one of his buddies come with him.
No, I don't.
I mean, he'll be a ball of laughs on that team if he doesn't have any help.
I know, but he had, but he was in Cleveland
No, I know
with
that.
LeBron and Kevin Love. That's a pretty
That's a
formidable
really
big
good
three.
team. Yeah.
They won a championship, and they were
Kyrie
in the
didn't-
finals. What?
Kyrie couldn't
4
stand.
or 5 straight years
Yeah,
with
Kyrie
that core.
for some reason couldn't stand LeBron, and
He wants to branch out and be the man, and then he goes to Boston and be the man, and his team's better without him. I'm starting to believe that, even though that's not usually the narrative I push, because I don't understand how a team is better off without a first-team All-NBA point guard.
because sometimes they play, because I think they just play better as a team when he's not out there.
Something.
I mean,
But-
something's up. Something is not right in Boston. And
But
Yeah,
you look
we'll
at the
see.
Sixers, and then I'm not worried about Embiid at all. He's just
well,
resting.
he'll be back by the playoffs.
He's just resting. It's.
and you'll win enough. You'll win enough games. You're going to make the playoffs.
I mean,
Really, it's all about.
the
It's
three
all about
seed
going
I think
in.
is the max for the Sixers. And then, boy, what a pickup Tobias Harris has been.
Well, do
he's-
you think
he's-
anything less? I mean, that was he's
He's been excellent.
he's a scorer, and
He scored 32 points the other night against the Thunder on 19 shots. He can really shoot and spread the floor. He's 6'9". He's a perfect addition to what this team needed. Boston 3-7 in their last 10. They've lost 1 in a row. They sit at 38-26. They are
Talk
three
about a
back,
team under
three back in
underachieving.
the loss column at the 5 seed. I'll tell you what, that's no gimme for the Celtics to beat the Pacers in a 7-game series.
No,
It's just not. I mean, I haven't seen anything from the Celtics to make me believe
unless you
that
think
they're as
unless
good
you
as
think
they're-
that when the playoffs start, they're going to hit the accelerator and start driving.
I
mean,
understand that, but now is the time. You can't just show up game 1 of the playoffs and flip the switch. You got to be at least somewhat flipping the switch going into the playoffs, which the Celtics are not doing at all.
They have the talent to do it, though.
They do.
They do.
But-
I mean, I would. I'll tell you what. I mean, if you put a gun to my head and the Celtics were playing Indiana in the playoffs, I'm sorry. Life on the line, I probably
would
take
too,
the
but
Celtics, but I would be concerned.
I'm just waiting for this big fall off from the Pacers without Oladipo, and it just
They've done a good job.
It's not coming.
Yeah, no, they've done it. They've done a nice job. As I said though, I think the Sixers are gonna. How many games behind Indiana are the Sixers right now? One,
Half a game.
half a game.
They are half game back.
Okay.
41-23.
I
The
think
Pacers.
it's pretty much. I think it's pretty much. I think you could pretty much say the Sixers should be able to run them down. I mean, you know.
Yes, they should. They should be the
They
3
should.
seed.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think at some point they're going to end up being the 3 seed. As I said, they'll play Detroit or Brooklyn in the first round, and you know
Which should be. I mean,
they may
I'll
lose.
give
they
them.
may lose. They
I'll
may
give
lose
them
a game.
5 games out of respect because those are professional teams too. But they shouldn't have any trouble with either of those 2 teams in the first round.
Oh, I think both teams will
and then you're
be
gonna
competitive,
and
but I
then
don't think they're going to beat
more
them.
than likely you're gonna have to play Toronto in the second round, and that's when the playoffs start.
Yes,
And that's when we're going to see if Brett Brown can be the coach of this team going forward, or is he going to fold up like he did last year against Boston? He has much better talent.
Well, he's
this
not going to
season.
play. He's not going to play Boston in the second round. He's going to play Detroit. He's going to play
No,
Toronto in the second
yes,
round.
but the Sixers were embarrassed last year by the Celtics in the second round of the playoffs.
Okay, but they're going to be playing Toronto in the second
right?
round.
Who's really good?
Yeah, no, I understand that. And the Celtics, if they
My point is,
The
whoever
Celtics
they
would be
play,
playing
whoever they play in the second round,
the Bucks.
Yes, the Bucks.
I think the Bucks. will
However,
run them
however
over.
it shakes out in the second round that's when it starts.
Yeah,
That's
I would
when you
agree
can
with you.
adequately judge if Brett Brown can be the coach of this team and what this core and this team has developed can win a big series and get to an Eastern Conference Finals, which I don't know. Brett makes me nervous sometimes. I like him. I'm rooting for him. I have the utmost respect for him because he basically got dealt a pile of shit for 3-4 straight years where they said, we're losing on purpose. You're going to win 10 games. Try and keep the fans and the players and the media happy.
And he handled
impossible task, and he did a
handled it
great
like
job.
a professional.
But is he the guy that's gonna be on the parade float like Doug Peterson or Gabe Kapler going down Broad Street? I can't answer that right now. I really hope he is, but he makes me scratch my head sometimes.
I think it's still asking a lot to expect them to win a championship this year.
Why?
I just don't because
Why
I don't
is
think
it?
Because I don't think they could beat Golden State.
No,
in a
they
7-game
can't.
Series,
But you're right. But there's
I
no
think
reason they can't represent the East in the finals.
no,
It's an
could.
exciting time to be in the
They could.
Philadelphia sports fan. Expectations are way up for all these teams. And if Brett Brown and the Sixers can't take the heat, then they're going to have to get a coach in the offseason. And I love the comments by Joshua Harris, Sixers part owner, that an early playoff exit would be problematic for the Sixers. So he's
laying down the gauntlet.
Yes,
Well,
which
he
I
should
don't
be.
mind at all.
He should be. There's no reason why that team should not. There's no way.
But what does that
team-
mean?
It
No,
means
he said an early playoff exit would be problematic. Not winning a championship would be problematic.
if they lost a 7-game series.
So
in
it
the
sounds
conference
like if
finals,
the Sixers lose in the second round, Joshua Harris is going to be pissed,
okay,
and
so
people might be looking for jobs.
If they lose a tough 7-game series in the conference finals, is he safe?
No, you're in the conference finals. Then yes, he's
Okay.
safe.
Okay.
He can come
If you lose
back
a
to
tough-
be the coach.
If you lose a tough 7-game
Because
series.
it'd be a
growing.
tough pill to swallow if that 7-game series was to Boston, because you just can't really seem to beat Boston, and they're your arch rival, and that's extremely
and
frustrating.
you have a better record.
But
than
if they
them.
get to the Eastern Conference Finals, he's safe.
I would think so. I mean, if they lose a 7-game series to Milwaukee or Toronto, in
I'm
the
not trying to
finals-
get crazy with the guy, but like, and they got blown out by Portland last Saturday. That was 100% on the players. They lost the Boston game before the All-Star break. I thought that was 100% on Brett. I thought he coached an awful game, and I think they lost another game in there that I put on the players too. Let me see this.
trying to remember
Portland.
who they lost to.
Golden State Saturday. They lost by 3 at home.
You didn't have Embiid though.
Embiid didn't play.
didn't have
Klay
Klay.
Thompson didn't play for them. I would like to see him win that game, but he came up a little bit short. Oh well, that's fine. But
Yeah, you can't kick and screen too much about that game. I mean, but
since they made the trade after they got completely routed, they got routed by the Raptors on February 5th. Then they made the trade to bring in Harris and Boban and Mike Scott, who's been a fantastic addition. By far, he's definitely emerged as the best rotational guy out of that trade. Mike Scott, he D's up and he hits a 3-ball. He's named after the regional manager of Dunder Mifflin. So a lot of things going right for Mike Scott. I like him. I think he's a good player. He's 6'8", 6'9", which seems like is a requirement these days to be on the Sixers. So since the trade, you beat the Nuggets, you beat the Lakers, you lost to Boston. You beat the Knicks, you beat the Heat, you lost to Portland. Win-win against New Orleans and Oklahoma City.
well, Oklahoma City game. That's a good win.
I mean,
on the
again,
road.
you got to take that with a grain of salt because Paul George is banged up right now. He's out hurt
Yeah,
shoulder.
but you don't have Embiid.
It's true.
I mean,
And Embiid is essential to playoff success for the Sixers.
absolutely.
I know they're resting him right now and getting him ready for the playoffs, but just because they have a good record while he's been hurt doesn't mean like you need Embiid more than any other person on the team. He's the best player. He's the most essential to their success. So what's this record? Hold on, let me get this record. 2-0, 2-1, 4-1, 4-2, 6-2. So you're 6-3 since the trade that brought Tobias Harris in. And then down the stretch,
and keep in mind, you haven't had Embiid.
there's still a handful of games left, so I don't really like going through the schedule when there's this many games left. About 18 games to go or so.
How many home? Is it a big difference between home and road?
looks like it's about even. I'm not gonna count them, but you have some game. You play the Magic tomorrow.
That's a gimme.
I don't care if Embiid is in, out,
No, that's
whatever.
a gimme.
And then you play Chicago.
That's a gimme.
So you got to get a back-to-back this week, Tuesday, Wednesday.
That should be too easy.
Home against Orlando. Well, back-to-backs can be tricky, so we'll see. Then you play Friday at Houston.
That could be a loss.
Yes, especially if Embiid is not back.
Yeah, that could be a loss.
Sunday, March 10th, 3:30, you got the Pacers coming in. That's a 3:30 ABC game. That's a big game.
That's a big game.
So
I think the Sixers win that game.
I would hope that Embiid
Maybe he comes back for
would
that
play
game.
in that game in some capacity.
I think even with Adam, I think they can
Even at Houston, I'd like to see him play there. And then we got March 15th, which that's the A2D
Houston.
game, right? We're going to the game on the 15th, right?
Yes,
is in
against
no-
Sacramento.
Going with the boys to the game.
Woo!
See the Kings.
Houston is in no way the same team that they've been the last couple of years.
No, I agree. But if you don't have Embiid for that game, the Sixers are underdogs, especially on the road.
I mean, listen, Brooklyn went in there and beat him in Houston.
Brooklyn is not bad.
I know,
Look,
but
I would
even with
consider
that-
them underdogs in that game if Joel Embiid doesn't play. Does that mean they can't win? No, but I
Yeah,
would
still
consider
think
them
they-
underdogs.
I still think they can.
If
I
we're
think they can
playing,
beat 'em.
give them a win, give them a loss. I'm giving them a loss there.
All right.
Then we'll be at the game. Well, they're not going to lose when the A2D crew is in the house. We still got box seats.
That's what the plan is so far.
Nice. Then you're at Milwaukee. That's
a tough
March
game.
17th. That is Selection Sunday. For those of you who follow Brinkman Bracketology on A2D.com. I'm about halfway done this week's article. Should be up later in the week. Virginia smoking Syracuse tonight. Smoked them. Wilson's probably not happy. I like Syracuse, though.
St. John's going to make the NCAAs. They got to win a couple of games in the tournament.
Yeah, they're making it extremely hard on themselves.
Yes, they are.
Because they can't find – I like their talent, and I like Mullins. He's a good coach, I think. But they can't build
beat
any
bad
kind of
teams.
momentum or gain any kind of consistency in the Big East.
Losing games against 2 games against Providence and then losing
Who's terrible this
Yeah.
year, which is surprising because
And-
I think they have
and
some
DePaul.
talent there.
and DePaul.
Well, DePaul's not as bad as they were. They're not a doormat anymore in the Big
Yeah, but
East.
they should have won. They should have beat DePaul.
You're right. If you want to be in the NCAA tournament, you got to beat DePaul.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you need to win. Especially when you need to win and you're
Hey, they lose games.
you're ahead
to,
to-
like,
you're ahead like 20-9.
Lose games to Georgetown and
I mean,
who's improved but not great. So to sum up the Sixers schedule here, get off track there. So you have Indiana, 2 against Milwaukee, and 1 against Boston. The rest of the games against the Hawks and the Heat and the Bulls of the world, Brooklyn could be a little bit of a tough game. Sacramento could be a little bit of a tough game. And we just talked about Houston going down there if Embiid doesn't play. I think if Embiid is not back by Sunday, March the 10th, I think a little bit of a red flag is going to go off in my head. Because that's a big game against
how long did they say he was
Indiana.
going to be out?
They said he's going to play this week, last week.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see. But, after
They may wait till that game and then play him, but just and limit his minutes so he's.
Because Houston, that's a little bit of an important game against a good team, but that's out of conference. So if they don't bring him back for that game, then, whatever. And then I would sit him. I think you can win. I think you can beat Chicago on Wednesday and Orlando tomorrow without him.
Oh, I agree. No, there's no reason to bring him back for those teams.
So I'm looking at March 10th in Indiana because then the next game is home against Cleveland on Tuesday.
That should be an easy one.
So, maybe you play him against Indiana, then you rest him again, and then you play him against the King. Then you got a Kings-Bucks weekend, which
You need him against the Bucks.
yeah,
that's
and
for
I
sure.
want to see him when we're at the game against the Kings.
Yeah, you got to have him against the Bucks. You cannot go up against them with Antetokounmpo without Joel Embiid.
No, that is very tough.
Yeah, that would
And now
be,
Milwaukee has Pau Gasol, which that collusion is pretty ridiculous. Why would you buy someone out when you're in the playoff race?
very
With
strange.
the Spurs.
Yeah.
Do you want to get under the luxury tax all of a sudden on March 1st? You want to get under the luxury tax?
Maybe the
Smell
Spurs.
a rat.
Maybe the Spurs think that, well, you know what? If we lost to the Knicks, we really must suck. So,
They're not good. I don't think the Spurs are good at
Yeah.
all.
The
But
Spurs-
they are the
the
8
Spurs
seed
are
in the
not-
Western Conference.
Spurs
and
are not
for you to be
good.
buying out players when you're in the middle of a playoff race is just
Rob, I'm sorry. If you are
That's unacceptable
if,
to me.
If you go and you lose to the Knicks, if you get beat by the Knicks and then crushed by the Nets, I'm sorry. That's not playoff basketball. That's not a playoff basketball team to me to get smoked by those
but they're
two
in
teams.
the mix in the West is my point.
Wow.
And they're just thumbing their nose up at the playoffs to buy out a guy that's going to help Milwaukee and just stick it right up the Sixers' ass, which pisses me off, quite frankly.
Yeah.
If Mo Cheeks is willing to come back, let's see what we got here.
We got Bob from Bucks.
Yep.
If
Talking
Mo
about
Cheeks
Brett.
is willing to come. Mo Cheeks, oh stop.
I think Brett Brown needs a better assistant to handle more of the X and O stuff, like installing inbounds plays, etc. A2G Radio agrees with that. Coaching staff.
You're
needs-
welcome.
Oh, is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
Trying to
So
keep the
Frank-
chat active.
So Frank agrees with Bob.
Yeah.
Head coach in the pros needs to handle so much media and player relations. Bring back Mo Cheeks as an assistant. He's been an assistant for the
Yeah,
Thunder
he's with the
for
Thunder.
many, many years. I think right after it didn't work out for him as a coach here.
Right.
He went down there to be an assistant. They don't need him in OK with Westbrook not giving up the ball. That is true. I mean, I don't know who the Sixers assistants are or how they delegate their responsibilities, but maybe maybe having stronger assistants would help Brett Brown, who I have questions about, especially from an X and O standpoint. I think Brett Brown's strength is developing talent that's not lottery pick talent into NBA talent, which he did with Saric and he did with Covington, and he got Butler. And, all throughout the process, you saw guys get better under the coaching of Brett Brown. Where he struggles sometimes with, his rotations baffle me. They baffle me. I was watching the Thunder game. There's 5 minutes to go, and he's still messing around with T.J. McConnell covering Westbrook. Like, T.J. McConnell, Russell Westbrook is just going to blow right by T.J. McConnell.
Why
and
wouldn't he
get
have
2
Simmons
points.
on him?
Simmons was on the bench, and Butler was on the bench, and it was just a weird lineup with 5 minutes to go in the game, which
But the Sixers
can't happen.
The Sixers won the game, so you can't complain.
They do, but I'm just saying these are the things that come back to bite him against the Celtics, who he can't beat at all. These are the mistakes that he makes against the Celtics that Brad Stevens and the Raptors and the Bucks are going to exploit. Now, the Thunder couldn't exploit Brett Brown's questionable rotations and questionable X and O.
But the Thunder
basketball
aren't as good
decisions.
as those teams.
Right, not when they don't have Paul George.
No.
Which they didn't against the Sixers in that game. And Brett Brown is just so set in his substitution packages every night. Doesn't matter if Embiid is killing it, doing bad, tired, energetic. 6 minutes to go in the first half, Embiid sits. There's no flexibility in he has what he wants to do and guys he wants to get in, and that's that. He's not...
He's
not
wants
quick
to play
on
him,
his feet.
but he also probably wants to make sure that Embiid only plays a certain amount of minutes.
But I'm over that. Those days are
But he's
gone.
not, but he's not apparently, and maybe that could be a directive from upper management too. He may be doing what he's being
if
told.
upper management is meddling in Brett Brown's rotations on a day-to-day basis, then that's a huge failure of the front office. That's not their job.
Rob, I'm I'm just putting it out there that maybe that could. I'm not saying that they're saying when he should be playing, when he's not. He's not going to be playing, but I think they might be telling him how many minutes they want him playing. I think that's definitely a possibility.
I mean, maybe.
I mean, listen, he's the most important player on the team. You want to have him healthy for
By
the playoffs.
far the most important player on the team. Not even
you
close.
gotta have him healthy for the playoffs. The playoffs are what matter. They're going to be in the playoffs. So, I mean, would it be nice to see them get to the 3-hole? Yeah, it would be. I mean, you really don't want to have to play the Celtics in the first round. I'm sure you'd rather play Detroit or Brooklyn, or Miami or whoever ends up in the 6-hole.
Looks like Detroit right now. They're playing really well.
Yeah, Brooklyn has gone into a bit of a tailspin. Although they finally got Dinwiddie back, which should really help them.
Levert's back too.
And
they're a pesky team.
And Crab
is a pesky team.
Crab is back too. They got all three of them back because they were all injured for a while. All three of them.
We got about 10 minutes left here. 8 minutes left. We got some NFL news. Like I said, very exciting time for Philadelphia sports. The Eagles got busy. They did announce that Nick Foles will not be tagged or tendered. He will hit the open market. It seems like the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be signing him.
How much money do you think he's getting? 18 to 20 mil?
That's what
for 3 years?
Yeah.
Going rate is for the starters.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think
I'm
he's
guessing-
worth every penny of
I'm
that for
guessing-
the Chargers.
I'm
the
guessing
Jaguars.
I'm guessing 3 years, 60 mil.
That's
then,
fair.
And then they cut the bum that was the quarterback.
Blake Bortles. I mean, I'm sorry.
He's a bum.
Yeah, Nick Foles is way better than Cody Kessler and Blake Bortles.
Oh, without
They
question.
have a legitimate chance to go to the playoffs now.
Absolutely.
Because they have Fournette. They have a good team besides quarterback. Pretty solid. So thank Nick Foles for all of his efforts here in Philadelphia.
Absolutely.
But it's time for the Carson Wentz era to be first and foremost. It's not fair to Carson to have Nick
Right.
Foles on the team.
No, it's not.
It's not at all.
Nah,
He's going to be looking over his shoulder every time the littlest thing goes wrong. Everyone's going to be screaming.
Well, just like when the Giants brought Eli Manning in and they let Kurt Warner go.
Right.
I mean, it wouldn't have been fair to keep Kurt Warner.
It wasn't
on
fair
the
to
team.
Kurt Warner because Kurt Warner knew that
And he
this
wanted to
guy was
play.
a pick, and Kurt Warner also wants to play. It's just not a good situation.
No, and
So-
Nick is a competitor. He wants to play, and you can't blame him for not wanting
But
to
the
play.
Eagles also get busy. Brandon Graham signing a 3-year, $14 million a year extension. Jason Kelsey is now the highest paid center on a per year scale in the NFL. And Frank, help me with his name. Vaitai.
Oh, Halapuli Vati Vaitai.
Halapuli Vati Vaitai
Halapuli
has
Vati
been
Vaitai.
extended.
Yep.
And Isaac Seimalu also extended.
Big V.
Big V, yes.
Big V.
But Frank has clearly practiced pronouncing his name,
Yes.
so I wanted his practice
Oh,
to
okay.
pay off.
Good
so
job,
he can
Frank.
Thank you.
Say it right on the air. David Roska, Bryce Blackwell. Jags already cut Blake Bortles. I did not.
I did
yeah,
not- I did not see
they are
that.
going to part ways with him.
That's not official yet,
It's
though.
not official, but once the new league year happens,
Which is what? Tomorrow?
next Thursday, I believe, the 13th.
13th.
Okay. So once
So then Joe Flacco will officially be
Joe
on the,
Flacco
on the
becomes
Broncos.
Joe Flacco becomes a Bronco.
I mean, that was
Foles,
the trade. That was the trade.
Yeah,
That was your trade opportunity with Foles.
absolutely,
But, the
Yeah.
Howie probably won more than a fourth-round pick
exactly.
for a quarterback that I think is better than Joe Flacco. No? Nick
At
Foles-
this point in his
Nick Foles
career-
better than Joe Flacco.
at
Yeah,
this point of
yeah.
his career, he is. Joe Flacco.
Yeah, that's true.
Joe
That's true.
Flacco's old now.
Yeah, he's getting there.
Joe Flacco's got to be like 35,
He's gotta be-
36 years old now.
He's got to be about Tom's age, I think. Jersey Joe.
Jersey Joe.
Jersey Joe.
Audubon Joe.
Audubon zone. He is 34, so yeah.
I mean, he's old.
Yeah.
34 with 34 with two bad knees. But
Oh, yeah.
That's old.
Yeah.
And then you have the two. It's really kind of a weak
Foles
free
is
agent.
only 31.
Yeah. 31.
3 years when
But I
you're
think
that
it's-
age is a big difference.
I think
though.
it's smart that the Eagles are re-upping these guys. And also, Tim Jernigan will not be. He's out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can't keep everybody.
Yeah.
Are they going to keep Darby?
No,
I
I think they're letting Darby
I
walk.
would guess no. He's not that good, though.
And what about the other guy? The other
What
corner.
other guy? Mills?
Yeah.
Mills
Jalen
under contract.
Oh,
Mills
he is
is under contract.
I
Yeah.
thought he
Yeah.
was. Okay.
No, he's still on a rookie deal.
Okay. So Darby is the
Rookie
one. That,
seventh.
Darby's the
Darby
one.
will be gone.
Okay.
You have to figure something out. They'll be all right there. Isaac Samalu getting extended is the head scratcher, but they're probably scared because Brooks probably isn't going to play next season with the torn Achilles that happened in the last game against
The
the
Saints.
Saints. So, and then you look at the landscape of free agents. You know, it's not a rich crop. You know,
It's not one of the
not
better
the best
classes.
crop.
No, it's not one of the
You have
better
Le'Veon
classes.
Bell, who's by far the best,
Yeah, but he
hasn't played for a year, and
and
now
he's
there's
also
rumors that
overweight.
he's out of shape and overweight. So that would
So if you sign
I'm
him,
out
you
on
gotta. If you sign him,
if
you have
he's
to bring
really
the salad bar with him.
260 pounds, like some outlets are reporting, I'm 1,000% out on Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, I mean,
And then Antonio Brown is forcing his way out of Pittsburgh
Yeah.
via trade.
Antonio Brown right now
I couldn't
is
be
off
less
his rocker.
I couldn't be less interested in a player.
Absolutely.
You don't want Mr. Big Chest on your team.
And I know I've been an advocate of kicking the tires and maybe trading for him, but I'm out on him. That guy is a Looney Tune.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, he's on ESPN saying, you know, his
They got to
new
play.
team.
They got to play by my
And
rules.
you guys
so,
tell
like,
and
I
you
mean-
guys talk about Odell.
Oh yeah.
Odell is a virgin angel compared to the way Antonio Brown's
Well,
been
I
acting.
mean, Odell loses his temper sometimes, and I'm sure it's frustrating as a Giants fan, but he's not nearly
Yeah, but
the
he's a
off-the-field
competitor.
distraction that
Yeah, but-
Antonio Brown is.
But he's
Yeah.
a competitor on the
I'll
field.
live with Antonio Brown. I'll live with Julio Jones getting mad he's not getting the ball in the red zone.
Yeah.
Who else? DeAndre Hopkins. You know,
I could live with Odell being mad because they're losing.
I mean, these
I
Instagram.
could deal with that. I don't blame him.
I mean, for his new team for him to tell his new team that it's going to be my way or the highway, I mean,
That's not.
that's a red flag.
Yeah, and he's not young anymore.
He's over 30.
He's over 30. He's probably.
I don't
still an
understand
elite
why.
receiver,
I don't
but
understand how it deteriorated so fast with him in Pittsburgh. Like
I also heard
they were
him make
never a
comment-
bad. They were never a
Right.
bad team.
They were never a bad team.
I mean,
I mean,
heard
the
him.
Steelers. It's the Steelers. They win 10 games every year.
I mean, it's strange because the coach has Roethlisberger's back.
Which I would have Roethlisberger's back too if he won me 2 Super Bowls.
Right, Tomlin
And the
has
owner and the GM have Roethlisberger's
Tomlin
back too.
Tomlin has his back, and
And guess what?
for whatever reason, Brown is jealous that Roethlisberger gets all the attention.
And there was also rumors that his offensive teammates, or his teammates in general, voted Juju Smith-Schuster the offensive MVP of the team last year.
No, it sounds to me like he's just a big baby.
But
you know
wait
what?
till he goes to San Francisco, or who were the team? There was like the Raiders,
The Raiders,
yeah,
Titans,
the Raiders
Francisco.
and yeah,
the Titans, the Niners.
San
If
Francisco.
he goes to,
yeah.
I'll tell you what. If he goes to the Titans, that would be.
Marcus Mariota blows, though. He's not any good.
He wouldn't blow as much if he was throwing the ball to Antonio Brown, though.
Either you're good or you're bad.
Right.
I don't think he's that bad. I mean,
He's not as good. I think Antonio Brown's going to be in for a rude awakening when he's going 8-8 with the Raiders, the Titans, the Niners, or
if you want to make the argument,
maybe
that,
the Niners would be a little better because they
look,
showed
if
promise.
you want to
and
make the argument
I think
that
they have a good GM and a good coach.
that Mariota is not as good, has had a disappointing career considering how good he was in college, I'll buy that argument.
With the teams rumored to be in the mix for an Antonio Brown trade, Ben Roethlisberger is better than all the quarterbacks.
Oh yeah.
So if he doesn't
absolutely.
like playing with Ben Roethlisberger, he's going to be in for a rude awakening when Marcus Mariota
How
is
many
holding the
teams-
ball too long, missing him on open routes, and getting sacked, and they're losing
or
games.
wanting to hand the ball off all the time because they have a good defense and a good running game.
That's correct.
Yeah,
And if he gets traded to the Redskins, like
That would be such a typical Redskin
That
move.
is a typical Redskin move.
That would be such a and then they would they would be nowhere anyway.
They have Colt McCoy as their quarterback.
And they're happy with that, and that's where they're going. They're not. That is their whatever.
That'll be.
That's just that's so.
He's gonna freak out with Colt McCoy messing everything up for him, messing up his stats. Then he's gonna be thinking, I should have stayed in Pittsburgh with Ben. He was actually kind of good, even though we didn't get along all the time. Anyway, that'll do it for this edition of the Sports Hounds. We'll be back next Monday, 8 to 10. Break down some more NFL free agency, spring training baseball, as we prepare for what looks to be a magical baseball season in South Philadelphia. Have a good week, everyone.
Good night, folks.